Welcome to another episode of In the Box Conversation with Elliot Anderson and myself, Officer Skinner. Elliot, you introduce our new and our guest that we're having today in the box.
Well, now today's a different aspect of recruiting, but a vital part of our department. So today we're talking to our Office of Professional Standards. We have Captain Randy Horowitz,
Yes.
who is our inspector of that office, and we also have Laura Brown, our Accreditation Manager of that office. And then I'd like for you all to introduce yourselves. So
Randy, you got to smile, even though we don't have a video. You can smile.
Everything's wonderful.
I understand. Good.
Can you tell us how long you've been here and what your roles are in the organization today?
All right, I've been with the department coming up on 38 years, and I'm in charge of our Office of Professional Standards. Carries the title inspector, but it's the rank of captain. Under internal Office of Professional Standards, which a lot of people equate to internal affairs. We have internal investigations. We've got audits and inspections, and we also have our accreditation.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot in one office.
It is, and I think that goes down to Laura, Miss Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? And you're civilian part of operation of OPS, I should say.
That is correct.
Okay.
I am the accreditation manager for our department, and that is the CALIA accreditation, which stands for the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies.
Okay.
Also, VLEPSI accredited, and that is the Virginia accreditation, the Virginia Law Enforcement Professional Standards Commission.
Okay.
So we are accredited by both a national standard as well as a state standard.
And that is correct.
So the reason we came up with this show today is because we get a lot of questions from our potential applicants about our accreditation. We run into a lot of applicants who are now aware that there are accreditation standards, and we wanted to talk about that as well as other aspects of what we do, or what you all do in OPS.
And how does it affect the police department and our recruits? And we had a program when, for instance, when the defunding police departments were coming out, when the riots were going on or protesting was going on throughout the country. We had a meeting with some pastors. Had called Chesterfield and wanted to go over what are we doing to combat, the violence in our community, things that were going on with the police department, things that were said about the police department. And Captain, you came and spoke at one of the meetings, a couple of meetings that we had, and some great questions came up about what are we doing in recruiting minorities. What are we doing with complaints throughout the county? And you brought up some things that it's not looked at as always police getting in trouble, but how do we be transparent in giving information back to citizens when they come in and making a complaint? Can you go over some of the, not really the complaints that are happening, but go over some of the procedures that we go through when a citizen call on Daryl Skinner for a traffic stop that I didn't say or do, or I was used bad language or whatever? How do you process that?
Well, first of all, we take complaints in a number of different ways. On the county's website, on the police department's homepage on the website, there's on the side, there's a little icon for accommodation and complaints, accommodation and concerns.
So we don't only take complaints, we also take compliments of what officers or employees are doing as well.
And, I mean, honestly, that website location, we probably get 5 or 6 commendations and thank yous for every complaint or concern.
Good. That's
And I mean,
excellent.
and sometimes it's a complaint, and a lot of times it's a concern. It's a misunderstanding, and it gives us an opportunity to reach out to the members of the community and have a conversation with them, invite them in. A lot of times, if it's a third-party complaint, mom calling because their child came home and said they got stopped and the officer did this, that, or the other thing. A lot of times we can invite that person in and let them see the interaction on the body cam. And more often than not, they walk away thanking us, telling us, your officers actually did what we expect of them, and I'm going to go home and have a long talk with whoever. We whether it's a child, a spouse, a brother or sister. There's been plenty of times where when the person that called us actually sees the interaction, they're upset with the person that told them the story and not with the police officer. But we look at our job, it's not, yes, we hold officers accountable, but our job is to make sure that officers are the best they can be. So a lot of time it's a learning opportunity for the officers to explain to them and show them how they can do things better.
I know on one of our previous podcasts, Colonel Katz spoke about there are issues of the heart and there are issues of the mind, and part of your job is to assess how they fell into either one of those two categories.
Right. I mean, in any group of people, there are going to be people that are there for the wrong reason. My job is to figure out if that's the case here, and if a person's here for the wrong reason, then we need to protect our agency, and the best way to do that is to find another way for them to make a living. But like I said, my job for the most part is to help people to be better police officers. So if it's something that they just didn't understand or don't have the tools, my job is to make sure they understand and get them the tools to do the job better.
But let's go back on that, because again, you're not here. Your job, or whoever is in that position
Right.
of inspector, we're not there. They're not there to punish us for mistakes that we make. It's more, and I look at it that if I made a mistake, that shouldn't be the end of my career. I mean, depending on what type of mistake I made.
Right.
But when you talk about the heart or the mind, if I, said, listen, I didn't do the procedure correctly. I should have been taught that. I was taught that, and I made a mistake. Now I should be punished because I know what the right thing to do. Your job is to say, just be transparent, show me what's going on, tell me what you did, and don't lie about it. Is that pretty much if I come? I hadn't been to Oops but one time, so I mean that was because of Laura, and that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean,
but explain that to me.
Right. I mean, Colonel Katz, if you own your mistake,
Right. Okay.
Colonel Katz is very much of the belief that you own your mistake, you learn from it, you move on. Now, if you come in and you decide you're going to lie about what happened and you're going to, that's not going to end you in a good position. The police department has no tolerance for lying, especially on in an official investigation or, in what you did. Now, there are times where you don't remember exactly what happened. You tell me that.
Sure.
But if you're trying to do the right thing, you're going to be fine.
Okay.
If you're out there looking to help yourself out over the community, we have no tolerance for that.
Good. I know we have standards here in our department, and some of those standards we benchmark with other departments and what's trending in police. And part of Laura's job is accreditation. And through that accreditation, I'm sure you have a network of co-workers, and not co-workers, but people in other agencies who do your job. Can you talk a little bit about what you do as the accreditation manager? How do we stay up on what's trending in policing and what makes us accredited?
Okay. Well, accreditation first is a voluntary process.
Okay.
So what it does is it's a voluntary process where law enforcement agencies commit to adhering to a set of established standards, best practices, if you will.
Okay.
That's created by a board outside of our agency. And what they do is we reevaluate our policies and procedures on a continuous basis to make sure we're adhering to those practices. So
And that's state and national.
on a state and a national level.
Okay.
Yes. And
So how do you get to do these standards? Do you
Okay.
apply, or do the people just randomly show up and do spot audits? How does this work?
Well, yes. Well, first you commit. You say, hey, I want to be a part of CALEA,
Okay.
or I want to be part of VALEPSI.
Okay.
And you go through that initial process to say, we're going to voluntarily start this process. And you go through an initial assessment. So you self-evaluate. You go through your policies, your procedures, your training, because that's part of it. It's about the administrative process. It's about the training. It's about personnel. It's about operations, day-to-day operations, how we do business. And what we do is we self-assess, and then the outside entity comes in and evaluates based on the standards that are set forth
Oh, okay.
to see that we are adhering to those practices.
Now, how long have we been nationally accredited?
We
Accreditation?
became CALIA accredited in March of 2017, so it's most recent.
Okay.
But we have been state accredited since 1997.
Wow.
But neither accreditation is required.
Neither is required. They are both a voluntary process.
Now, how does that help us as a police department? What does that do for the police department itself?
Well, it shows that we are promoting accountability, integrity, transparency, because there are a lot of
good.
standards that require us to keep the public informed, to have a process in place where the citizens can, engage with us and we engage with the community to say that we are here to provide an excellent amount of service to you.
Okay. Now, how does the body camera? That's one of the things folks are talking about now in the community. How does the body camera play a part in the accreditation, or does it play a part in it?
There are standards that we have to meet on a national level for our body cameras.
Okay.
Some of that is retention. We have to maintain retention of these body cameras. We have to have a review process of our supervision has to review on a regular basis these body cameras. We have to inspect these body cameras. We have to make sure they're in proper working order. We have to make sure that there are policies in place to show that administratively or criminally we have these things in place. Like we have to have them on or not on for certain situations.
Okay.
So
Okay, I understand that.
I know you said the citizen and being transparent with the citizens, but are the citizens involved in our accreditation process, or?
absolutely,
question.
absolutely. We do invite the citizens to come in. So with the accreditation process, it is an ongoing review, and we are reviewed on an annual basis, but there is an on-site assessment every 4 years. And that's for both programs, where a team of assessors comes in, not only looking at our files, but also engaging with the community, our stakeholders, our citizens, our employees, to see our day-to-day operations, to see the perception of the citizens on our agency, and to talk to them about these things.
Wow.
So I assume when they're on site, we must advertise somewhere to make citizens aware that this is an opportunity for them to do virtual, I guess, now, but otherwise on site they could come and talk to an assessor?
Yes. So during the 4-year process, on the national level, not the state level,
Okay.
we are required to put out a public notice prior to the assessors coming to our agency and advising the citizens to come in and have a conversation with our assessors.
Wow.
And so they have that opportunity.
That
They
is
can
good.
also write letters, giving their input on how we do business, good or bad. And the assessors take that into account when determining our reaccreditation. And that just recently happened on a virtual level, like you just said. We just did this virtually in November, actually. So
Wow.
we go before the commission in March to determine our reaccreditation.
And see, that's the beauty I always say when we're doing interviews or we're talking to some of our citizens, that we are probably one of the most transparent police departments in the metropolitan area because of those accreditation, because of those national standards that we have to invite the citizens, invite our community to come in and see what we do, so we can have that understanding of what's going on in our community. So I do like that. Now, if I'm, I like to get into some of Daryl's stuff. So
Here we go.
can I? Can I?
I'm almost
If
afraid.
say my daughter
Yes.
is stopped, and she gets a ticket, and she says the officer says whatever. Can she? And I think you mentioned it earlier. Can she say, "Mom, let's go and see the video from the police department"? Can a citizen come and do that?
Yes.
Okay.
We often invite citizens, again, whether it's a third party or the person, we get a complaint, we'll call and talk to the person, and we'll invite them to come in and watch the video with us. Because all those situations are stressful. It's stressful for the police officer, it's stressful for the citizen, whether they get arrested or not. So we find that a lot of times when the people come and actually see the interaction, their memory does not necessarily match up with the body camera
Conversation.
footage. Yeah. Because, like I said, it's stressful. I mean, it's stressful on everybody. And the same thing, there are times when the police officer's memory doesn't exactly match up. But, we are, if it's a body cam footage of your interaction with the police, you are 100% able to see all of it.
Awesome.
I would also like to note that portion, commendations and concerns, has to be made available to the public. Those are accreditation standards that we must adhere to.
Okay.
And that we must investigate anonymous complaints. So we do accept anonymous complaints as well.
Wow.
So our process for your office is something that's governed by our accreditation process.
Yes.
Okay.
Our policies and procedures have to match up with those guidelines.
Now, I know both of you worked a number of years. What has your background been since you've been in our department? You didn't start off as an inspector in internal affairs. Where else have you worked?
I've worked all throughout the operational side of the department. Patrol, investigations. I worked undercover before I even went to the academy for a year.
You were doing it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. What's that show? The high school show they had undercover.
21 Jump Street.
21 Jump. There you go.
It wasn't quite that. But yeah, so I mean, I've worked in our covert investigations, our criminal investigations, all throughout the patrol division, forensics, and then when I got promoted to captain, I was lucky enough to get assigned to Office of Professional.
Lucky enough.
So over your career, I'm sure you've seen an increase in number of policies we've had,
Yes.
and probably overwhelming, like most people in any organization, when you continue to have policies, but you've probably seen a level of professionalism added and accountability added to the organization.
Certainly, when I got here way long ago, the policy manual wasn't all that thick. If we, now our policy manual is all electronic, because it would probably break everybody's back to carry around the policy manual if you had everything.
Right.
A few years ago, we had the whole policy manual rewritten by a professional company, and as Ms. Brown has stated, we regularly go through all those policies, so they're getting updated, and reviewed at least once a year. The real crux kind of policies, operational kind of policies, get reviewed and not updated several times a year. But the good thing is, with Laura and her assistant Marcus Goff, we've gotten a little bit more professional in the writing. When we all got here in the beginning, it was different people writing policies, and you could
And sign
you
it.
but you could see the writing ability of the
Yes.
people that were writing the policies, and they might know exactly what they're talking about, but they didn't necessarily know how to write so that it was clear. But we work hard to make sure that our policies are clear and that they're not open to such a wide interpretation.
And each officer is given that policy.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
They have to have access to it.
Right. And they have to, and recently we sort of adjusted, because over the years you had to sign and say that you'd received the policy update, but we've changed that to say that you've received it, you've read it, and you understand it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do me any good for you to say you have it and it's in your back seat and you've never looked at it.
Right.
I need to make sure that you
Exactly.
understand it and you understand what it means.
Right. And Laura, what's your history been with the department?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've been with the department for 25 years.
Oh.
27 with the county in total. So I started in the county as a deputy sheriff, and I came over to the police department a couple years later as a booking technician.
My mind went everywhere when you said that.
Let's see, booking technician, planning and information services as an automation specialist. And unlike being assigned to OPS, I actually applied to go to
Oh, okay.
the Office of Professional Standards as a compliance analyst before becoming the Accreditation Manager.
Now, how long have you been in that role?
Just since 2014.
Okay. That's not
Yes.
just, that's a good little
Yes, since
time. That's
2014.
6 years. Good.
Yes.
Well, I think one of the positives here is that you both seem to have a big outlook or have had a lot of experience and variety in your career, which only adds to the benefit of you being in our Office of Professional Standards.
And we need good people and continue to have good people in our Office of Professional Standing. That's excellent. And me knowing both of you all, I am comfortable in coming in and having a conversation with you all in case something that I have done wrong, or any officer should be, because again, it's an open door policy for us.
Yes.
So anything you want to add as we close?
One thing I'd like to say is that in the state of Virginia, there's only 3 departments that are both state and federally accredited, and we're one of those 3.
Oh, that's
Wow,
good.
that's excellent.
So that's unusual. And then the other thing is, my job is to hold people accountable, make sure our policies are up to date, make sure that people are doing the best job. But we work very hard to make it, my feelings of whether I like you, Daryl, or don't like you does not weigh in to whether or not you've violated a policy.
Okay.
I'm
I'm going to keep that in mind.
So, right. But, I mean, the truth is, this is not a personal
Right.
decision. I'm not saying, ooh, I like this officer, or so I'm going to let him get away with that, or, ooh, I don't really get along with this person. My job is to take personal feelings out of it and do what's best for the department. And
Good.
I've been here a long time,
And
and
that's very
that's my
respectful.
goal.
Yeah.
I would also like to add, with accreditation, it just shows that there is no rule of the day, that we are consistent in our practices because we have these guidelines and we have these comprehensive policies that reach those guidelines or exceed them in some cases. And that builds the community rapport and
Right,
support.
exactly.
Which we have a great support system from our community.
Good.
And internally as well. So
That's good.
All right, brother, you want to sign us out of here?
Well, I just want our potential recruits to know that you heard Captain Horwich just say we are one of 3 departments in Virginia that are both nationally and state certified. You've heard Ms. Brown talk about this is an ongoing process. It's not a one and done. It's not like we wait 6 months before our 4-year accreditation to try to pull things together. It's ongoing. If you're interested in applying, go to chesterfieldpd.com, fill out the application, and get started today.
Excellent. All right, that's it for us today. We appreciate you all listening, and thank you all for coming by and
We appreciate
talking to
your
us
time.
about what we got going on in our police department. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Chesterfield County Police Department podcast. This episode was written by Daryl Skinner, sound engineer Chris Rizzuti. We are the Chesterfield County Police Department representing Chesterfield County, Virginia. Check us out online at chesterfieldpd.com.